Welcome to Advanced Nurses. We connect with nurses who inspire other nurses by sharing their experiences. And so we're able to bring that information to you.
When we look at standardized test taking, it weeds out some good candidates.
If you're above a 3.0, there's no reason you should be dismissed out of a program. This is a profession where you are dealing with life and death, and you do have to be a critical thinker, but you need to give people time to really be able to digest the information and successfully complete the program. A lot of my classmates, they are able to get higher scores on their tests, but then they lack emotional intelligence, or they don't know how to interact with patients or families. But I think that is such a huge skill to have in a profession where you have to constantly interact with all different walks of life.
So does anyone have any questions about anything they see in the film regarding healthcare, nursing in general, Black nursing experience that we could actually answer?
Or what do you think about it?
Yeah. What do you think about the film? Yeah. Yes. What do you think about the film? Excellent.
Yeah, the film definitely hit everything spot on, and I would definitely attest to everything.
And would you mind just introducing yourself? I'm sorry.
And, I've been in the role as a nurse since 1996. I started off as an LPN, went on, became an RN, and then now I'm an advanced practice nurse. So everything that I see in the film, from 1996 to 2004, nursing hasn't really evolved, especially for nurses of color. The fortunate thing for me is being as a nurse in Philadelphia, I worked in most settings, primarily, especially as a registered nurse, the settings that I've worked with have been very diverse on all levels. But there was always a struggle at the top, in the administrative roles. You still, didn't see many nurses of color, but for the most part, it was always in a very diverse setting. So I cannot say that in 2004, I experienced the racism, but definitely in 1996, when I started out, you could see that there was, as one of the persons in the film mentioned, that the RN was, usually Caucasian, and then the LPN and the CNA and the ancillary staff was usually a person of color. But it's evolved. We're getting there. We've made our way, as you see in the film. There's a lot of advanced practice nurses, nurse practitioners who are, nurses of color. So I just wanted to add that.
So one of the things that I think stands out for me is, because we're here in the Philadelphia region, and you're out in Ohio, both, and just seeing those patterns over time, I think is really interesting. Jesse, if you don't mind, would you mind sharing how long you've been a nurse?
31 years.
Right. He looks 31 years old, right? You must have been born a nurse, right?
1993.
Wow. And what would you say, as far as what you had, what you heard the accounts of the film? Would you say we've evolved any? Would you say this is pretty much what you're seeing even now today in nursing?
Just like Pat said, it's just evolved very little. And what was really shocking for me was the percentage of RNs that increased. It was very little, and it's like 7 years. That's nothing. And I really think, and what you said about the Philadelphia area, and what I think is there are more, you have more advanced practice nurses of color in larger concentrations of populations where there are people of color, and I think it's because of support. And so it's either, I would think it would be, you have more support here in Philadelphia than if you were trying to be a nurse practitioner in Wyoming. So I just think that, and that was one of the things that the documentary touched on, was how one of the women said there's a whole network of support. That's what you need in nursing. You have to have support at any level. And that's what I think we can work on as a whole, as Black nurses. Just supporting each other more, and it happens here in Philadelphia all the time. But I think maybe because of the internet, because of technology, We might need to have some kind of support system for people who are in violence, people who are in Montana, who need that, who can't call somebody, who can't pick up the phone, who doesn't have a sister or a brother that's a nurse. So.
And that is so right. Now, thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing that. Ashley and Deasa, would you mind just sharing your background as a nurse? I know Ashley has a pretty interesting story, but Deasa, if you don't mind starting off. Ashley, you go second.
I'll be quick. Again, hi everybody, my name is Deasa Dorsey. I am a registered nurse and I've been a registered nurse for about, I think it's 14 years. I think it just became
14. It's amazing.
Thank you. And I work in higher ed currently in academia. I'm a nursing instructor, which is where a lot of my passion comes through. We talk about support, just being able to support the students, because if you can't get them to matriculate, then they can't become a nurse. And there's so many barriers in place systemically that have kept us out of these spaces. Obviously, like we showed the numbers, we showed the percentages, and they're very low. And I'm constantly advocating for students because to this day, actually, one of the stories I shared with you, in the syllabus, the students were told that they could not wear wigs. This is in 2024. Now, who are you targeting? You know,
Now, it's interesting you're saying that because there's some folks who I believe their ethnicity out, but they historically, for religious reasons, wear wigs, and I'm sure that's acceptable.
But see, and that's the thing. There's many reasons somebody may wear a wig. Alopecia, somebody may have,
They could be going through treatment and lose hair.
There's so many reasons, but why would you put that in there? And then when we're teaching nurses, right? We're teaching nurses how to be empathetic and how to have the compassion and how to advocate for themselves and other people. So you put something in there that can be very discriminatory, all the things you guys can talk about later. So anyway, I also own a company called I Can Help, where our goal is a health and wellness organization, and currently we're focused on people with pre-diabetes and diabetes type 2. In addition to being Ashley's friend and co-producer of this film. Oh, and my other organization is Black Nurse Network, where our goal is to ensure that Black nurse students graduate in nursing programs, period. So we, to your point of having that, support, we do mentoring. So we pair the nursing students up with a nurse in the field.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes.
So my story is a little different. So yes, so I actually just became a nurse. Well, I graduated from nursing school last year, but it took me a year to build up the courage to take my NCLEX just because of the experience I had in nursing school. I was in one program and got dismissed from the program a semester before I graduated due to, we'll just say, a testing score. So I'm terrified of tests. Anyways, I started out in nursing school in 2005. That's where I met Deasa, actually. Went through some struggles in school. Again, I am not a good test taker, and for all the nurses out there, that's all they assess you on is taking tests. So if you can't take a test, you're not passing nursing school. When I did not get into nursing school the first time, I went into public health, so I've been in there for 14 years. And actually, it all makes sense because it helped me and built up the advocacy part in public health experience that I've had. So I'm able to use that in the nursing profession now. And so that's kind of my roundabout story. When I went back to school to go to nursing, though, I had no idea what I was signing myself up for. I was like, am I tripping? Or like, when you are in these classes, like how she said, you turn in your assignment and we're literally turning in the same. So if you have a white student turn in literally the same exact thing, you will get different scores. Like, it's very subjective. So the instructors, they give you what they deem they want to give you. It's not an objective scoring system. So a lot of the people I started out in nursing school that looked like me did not finish. I will say that. And most of the time it is due to testing and scoring and all of that. So just wanted to share that story.
But you did, you told you not to take the test, but you passed your
But I did pass my first time when I finally was perfect to take it. But it got to the point where one of my advisor was like, look, if you don't schedule and take this test, you're never going to take the test. So I just took it and I did pass. So right now I work for Molina Healthcare. It's a managed care company. And I'm over their health equity programs and initiatives, but I'm a registered nurse at a behavioral health hospital. I like psych too, so they said that's my thing. And then I'm the nonprofit founder of Black Women Cultivating Change, and we collaborated, me and Deasa, on directing and producing this film. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say what? Just jump in. We're talking about racism in nursing, but what we are not talking about is anti-blackness from black people. Because I went to a black program. I did not have, I had not one white instructor, but it was an instructor of color who wanted me to be put out. And the difference is I'm an excellent test taker. That's it, that. And I'm only a nurse because I could put a 90 out when I needed it. The only reason. That's the only reason, because they were gunning for me.
It's interesting that you're saying that because I do know that anti-blackness is woven into healthcare curriculum. It's woven into both medical school and nursing school. So you really don't need the instructor to be a non-black person to push those messages and signal that through to the students. And it's everything from like even what's in the textbooks, you know, because many of the textbooks, they don't actually have pictures of black patients, so therefore you don't know what black skin looks like when there's like sickness or illness. And so with that being said, we have to advocate for that. And it's crazy because I remember just being in nursing school and I was one of those really excitable students. And I swear I had no diagnosed ADHD, but like self-diagnosed. And I was like, after our exams, I would always raise my hand up and I would, quiz them about questions. A lot of it is because I had an education background before I became a nurse. So a lot of times with the teachers, I'll just be like, you didn't capture that in the text, in the lectures, and here it is, it's on the exam. Like, this is misleading people. And then with parents, they'll say to me, what are you talking about? I had a 90, because that's nothing too. Like you said about being subjective. They'll shut you up in a heartbeat. Oh, you have almost like, you have a high GPA, so you shouldn't be arguing about these questions. But I know that there were people in my class who we studied together, and I'm like, I know why you're confused about that because that's what they said in that lecture. But most of your instructors don't look like you. So when you do that at great risk. I did 7 for clinicals. Yes, I had it. And I'm like a super duper student, right? But it's because it's challenging and standing up for yourself. So you, just like that, one of the participants here in the film who did not want to put herself out there, right? I knew I didn't want to do that. Because once you do that, the target is on you even on the professional, from the professional side. Your coworkers actually can start targeting you. You can have managers that act just like your professors.
I think that's also one of the reasons for the film is to start the conversations. It's not even starting. The conversations that have kind of been there, but to give people the feeling of you're not alone. Yes. Like you said, in 1996, this was happening, right? And probably there weren't too many people that was doing documentaries to help you feel supported and affirm your experience. And so, one of the things you hear a lot is pretty much everybody said, that's exactly what I experienced. And it's man, this is 2 of those nurses, 3, because the one that's 99, she's now 100, the very first nurse that you saw. So, the fact that she's still telling stories that I'm experiencing when I graduated in the 2000s, and what's going on? So we take this film wherever people listen, especially in the hospital systems, especially in the schools, because the goal is to create change. There was a lot of work and money put into this film. We're not just out here trying to be cute. We really want to address these things so that we can see the change, so that when her kids get older, they're not still dealing with the same stuff that we've been doing.
It takes a lot, it's bravery, you know, for all of those nurses that participated. Even the one who wanted to remain anonymous, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do that. So I did want to kind of go around. Is there any particular experience that was a game changer for you as far as dealing with racism in nursing? Like, was there, or maybe not in nursing, actually from the public health side that probably drove into nursing?
So I will say from the public health side, I remember when I first found out about health disparities, and I'm, just wondering, like, why are we at the highest rate of high blood pressure and diabetes? Like, why is it us? What's wrong with us? And knowing that there's all this data, and we've known this for years, but we're making some progress, but not as much as I think we need to. And I think it's just a lack of diversity in the academic space. So with having the public health background, we're taught that in school, but in nursing, you have, and I don't want to misspeak because some people say they get more education than others, but we literally had one class where we learned about health disparities, and they didn't really mention racism too much.
You get a special project.
Right, a special
or a paper or something. It's a blink and you miss it.
So to me, it's like we're perpetuating the cycle because we're not learning it in the school. So we can't really get mad at the health professionals because they're not learning it. So for me, it was just like that. Again, doing public health first and then going to nursing, I was like, okay, I understand now why we have doctors who are culturally competent. Just who might never have worked or been around Black people, but then has to take care of Black patients and doesn't know how to communicate with them, doesn't know our cultural norms and different things like that. So I guess that was the most eye-opening experience for me, is just kind of seeing one side and then seeing the other and seeing the disconnect and how much opportunity it is if we. I think there needs to be more programs that are both public health and clinical combined. That's my whole thing. And right now there's a shortage both in physicians and in nurses. But if we made it a more equitable process to get into the medical field, I don't think that we would have a shortage. A lot of the tests that we take, and we talked about even the bias in the testing, it's not what we do in the real world. So you're taking these tests with words you might have never seen before and scenarios that you've never come across. And they want you to go into this dream world and take this test, and it's not applicable to real life. So I think that is where the biggest area of opportunity is, in my opinion. So.
Thank you. Deasa, what was your game changer moment?
I think I'm kind of experiencing my game changer now. When I went into nursing, first of all, it was not my first choice. Was not planning to be a nurse, to be honest. But scholarships were offered and free schooling and all of that, and I'm like, this makes the most economical sense, and I think I can be pretty good at it. So I went into the field, and I didn't really experience, outside of, every now and then you have a patient that doesn't look like you, that says they don't want you to be a nurse, or they want to speak to the head nurse, and all the things like that. I'm like, all right, whatever, give me another patient then. So it wasn't necessarily my experience on the floor, as much as when I got into academia, which also wasn't my intention, and kind of stumbled into that. But I feel like I'm making most impact here, because I can literally see the intentionality of keeping students out, and it's not always just Black students. It's more of a caste system sometimes than it is just racism. It could be the white student that may be from Appalachia or an area that may not have a lot of resources, and I see how they're not very accommodating. How can you be instructors that are trying to teach and develop empathy and not show it to your students? And then when you get out on the floor, you're hard on the new nurses, which again stifles them in learning that piece. And so then you wonder why we got nurses that you feel like they might hate their job, it's just a lot, mentally as well. So I think now I'm in a place where I'm able to, because I go in just like I'm me all the time, and that's aside from all the other things. That's just me trying to personally develop and being like, I'm tired of putting on all these different faces for different people. No, I show up the same way. I'm gonna talk to the dean, I'm gonna talk to the president, I'm gonna talk to my homegirl, kind of the same. So, but I think my authenticity allows others to feel authentic too. And I'm noticing that it's more people, because it's gonna take all of us. It's not just gonna be able to be all black people, we're just gonna be able to tear this down. We need everybody, and I think I'm learning that the more authentic I show up, the more people kind of feel like, oh, I get with that, and then they're able to be more authentic, and the conversations start, and I'm able to really hear people that, I may not have really talked to before for whatever reason, and how can we work together? So I think now is we'll see where it goes.
So you're in a game changer season.
Maybe that's, yeah.
So what was a game changer moment for you?
I think mine started early because mine did my first job 31 years ago, and I worked in Bryn Mawr. And people in Philly know Bryn Mawr is very. So this.
You have to describe it.
Oh, okay. It is a very affluent area, old money, and this resident, older woman, said that I had called her an Irish pig. And anybody that knows black people know we don't give white people that kind of specificity. White, period. So I'm like, do you really believe that? And they did it.
So I know she's Irish.
I don't even care. I'm not even going to take the time to figure it out. You could have it's done me. I'm right. But so I got my legal call very early. And also, I just think that for nurses, especially for students and people doing nursing, you have to know that you cannot take it personally because it's not even about you. And it's hard to get to that point, but it's really not. It's a system. It's the same person who looked like you was in this spot before who did the same thing. It's not right, but it is. And I think that you have more power when you don't internalize it, you don't personalize it. And as I'm here, when you're talking about a new nurse experience and a student nurse experience, we all have experienced the same things. And it all comes down to support. I mean, that's what I'm continuing to hear is support. Because if you had support, it wouldn't matter. It would be easy. You would be able to shrug it off, okay. Because you have a community that's going to build you up, that's going to affirm, that's going to help you. And that's what I just think that's the only way to move forward. You just say, we can't do it alone because it's not our issue. We're affected by it, but it's not our issue. And we need a coalition. But until that coalition happens, we have to do it for each other.
We didn't intentionally not have a male representation in the film, but I am curious.
We could have called you. We would have done
But I am curious about your experience.
You really?
A little bit, yeah.
Tea time.
So, as a male nurse, I understand how women feel in male-dominated professions. Because I could tell you some stories. I was working, this is a quick one. I was working on staff, 11 to 7. This agency nurse was working 3 to 11. My supervisor, who was non-black, we were having issues. She changed my schedule and said, well, she has a family and she has to come from Delaware. It's not my problem. But she literally changed my schedule. I was full-time. She scheduled me for 2 days a week. And I'm full-time. And you justified it by, well, she has to travel. Like I live next door. So, just me being a man, and of course, I'm never, ever, ever the nurse. Especially me. I'm the orderly. That's what they used to call them back in the day. So I was the orderly. Then I worked in dietary, walked in the inner room. Oh, my tray is over there. But I I'm okay with that because I didn't personalize it. And honestly, if you were paying me a nurse pay, I might do the tray, I'll sweep the floor, I'll do whatever, I'm getting my money. But I didn't personalize. That's the thing, I didn't personalize it. But I could tell you some stories. I was getting the worst patients, and then getting back to school. And I hated med-surg because most of my med-surg patients died. They gave me the worst patients because we had clinical 3 days a week. And we had to do, everybody knows the nursing, we have to do a diagnostic write-up or do a little story with your patient. It got to the point, I was like, so of course I would go in to do my thing on Monday, turn it in. Then on Tuesday, I met Mr. Gallop, the patient expired, they gave me another patient, and I had to do another paper. So I got to the point, I'm like, God, just let him live till Wednesday, till Tuesday. Because then I don't have to do a paper. It was really that serious. Most of my med-surg patients died. Because, look, then I was getting written up. Like I had a combative patient who had blood on his fold. But I got written up because I didn't clean off the fold. Now this man's combative, and I'm supposed to be cleaning around his meatus. And because I don't do it, then I get written up. Oh, it was nice. I can tell you something. I got stories, but I'm a survivor, as you can see.
You know, as you were saying that, I remember, again, my trauma had been in nursing school, so I kind of go back to nursing school. And I don't even remember how many days I was in clinical, because that's how traumatized I was by nursing school. No, seriously, there's so many parts of nursing school I don't remember. But I remember distinctly this one time being assigned, and I, again, assigned horrible clients. In nursing school, just think about it this way. They're not going to give you difficult clients because they want you to get through your clinical. So they want you to have, in fact, they probably want to give you the easiest clients. But that wasn't my experience. I had a client that actually had, he had cellulitis on both legs, and it was this highly contagious and, highly infectious. And, they couldn't even pinpoint what the source of the cellulitis was, but his legs literally looked like 2 tree trunks. And I had to gown up to go in the room. And the CNA who was working with me, she said to me, they never give students patients like this. And I said, really? No, they never do. Because, why would you want a student to gown up? If you deal with an infectious patient, you have to gown up every time you walk in and out. You have to go to the bathroom, you have to meet with your clinical instructor during your clinical rotations, you have to walk out of the room every 5 minutes. Your instructor can, once you walk out of the room, just ask you how that patient is doing. My instructor wasn't coming in here gowning up with me as she should. She dealt with me through the door, so I had to go out and do that. God has a very funny sense of humor because that same client gave me a stellar review. I think it's because, again, going back to what you said about kind of that sensitivity, and I think a lot of it does come from kind of understanding not just the medical piece, but also where people are coming from. And I think a lot of that comes from that public health piece as well. And he said he felt valued, because I did the regular care for him. See, I'm a student. You see, I'm not thinking I'm not supposed to take care of this kind of patient. So I'm taking care of it. I'm wiping him down. I'm doing everything I would do for anybody else. Also, I don't know what contagious means. Like now I know what contagious means, but then I didn't know that, and I trusted my instructor, right? So I'm taking care of this man. He's getting TLC. So he gives me this stellar review. It was so good, they put it inside of the review for that quarter for the hospital. So all the other things that they try to do to really get me in nursing school as far as the instructors go, that was the one thing they pulled me out privately. And I'm like, what? Is this the day I'm going to get sent home for like some random thing? And they're like, pull me into the dean's office, and everybody's been gathering around like, oh, there's a report on the board for you for this quarter. I'm like, what is it? And they're like, go read it. And I read it. And of course, I'm like overwhelmed with emotions because it was just a stellar review. And it was good for the hospital to get that kind of review because that's what we're talking about the care received. But of course, it was because of that.
We want to hear from you. Schedule a free consultation or send us an email at advancednurses@acd4n.com or visit our websites www.advancednurses.info or www.acd4n.com.